We begin the news from Rome as all eyes turn to the conclave after Pope Francis was laid to rest. Now, the secretive meeting of cardinals set to convene within days to elect a new head of the Catholic Church. Mourners were permitted to visit his tomb for the first time on Sunday, a day after an estimated 400,000 people, including world leaders, turned out for the Argentine's funeral at the Vatican and burial in Rome. The crowds were a testament to the popularity of Francis, an energetic reformer who championed the poorest and most vulnerable. Many of those mourning the late Pope, who died on Monday, aged 88, expressed anxiety about who will succeed him. Still in Rome, a day after Pope Francis was laid to rest, the Vatican and the faithful worldwide reflect on his lasting legacy and look towards the future of the Catholic Church. Our News Central's international correspondent, Afia Hagen, reports from Rome.
Including world leaders, royalty and everyday worshippers gathered in St. Peter's Square to bid farewell to Pope Francis, who passed away on Easter Monday at the age of 88. More than 400,000 mourners, including approximately 50,000 in St. Peter's Square alone, attended the funeral, reflecting the broad appeal of a pope who emphasized humility and reform. Former President Joe Biden, President Donald Trump, President Emmanuel Macron, President Volodymyr Zelensky, Prince William and other dignitaries joined cardinals, bishops and priests for the solemn service. Pope Francis chose simplicity even in death, opting for a modest wooden coffin lined with zinc instead of traditional elaborate papal caskets, symbolic of his vision for a poor church for the poor. In his homily, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re praised Pope Francis for his compassion and his ability to resonate deeply with people from all walks of life, highlighting his dedication to migrants, climate change, and openness to all. Cardinal Re notably echoed Pope Francis's advocacy, urging global leaders to build bridges, not walls. After the service, the pontiff's coffin was blessed with holy water and carried back into St. Peter's Basilica as the solemn tolling of funeral bells echoed through the city. Pope Francis' final journey then took him through the streets of Rome, greeted by crowds of supporters cheering and applauding. In a poignant reflection of his lifelong advocacy, prisoners and migrants carried his coffin into the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, his chosen resting place. In keeping with his final wishes, Pope Francis was buried privately and simply, with just his papal name, Franciscus, inscribed on his grave. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen in Rome. The streets of Rome are back to normal today, a sharp contrast to yesterday's emotional farewell, attended by world leaders, dignitaries and thousands of mourners. Pope Francis's simple and heartfelt funeral has left a profound impact, echoing his lifelong dedication to humility and compassion. This morning, mourners continue to visit Pope Francis's grave here at the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, paying their respects privately and reflecting on his influential papacy. His resting place, marked simply with Franciscus, underscores the humility that defined his leadership. A soft light bathed the tomb and illuminated a replica of the late pontiff's pictorial cross displayed on the wall above it. Even before his election as Pope in March 2013, Francis held a special devotion to the church, home to a Byzantine-style icon of the Madonna. As leader of the Catholic Church, he would go on to pray before the icon, both before departing on and returning from each of his international journeys. Cardinals and church officials have already begun informal discussions ahead of the conclave to select Pope Francis's successor. There's already speculation on how the next pope might uphold or diverge from Francis's progressive and inclusive vision, especially on issues of climate change, poverty and social justice. Preparations for the papal conclave are underway, with intense speculation around potential successors. Key contenders include moderate and progressive candidates who share Francis's values, alongside conservatives who may signal a significant shift for the church. As Rome returns to normalcy, the legacy of Pope Francis remains a powerful force, one of unity, compassion and reform. His papacy, remembered for its bold challenges to tradition and advocacy for social justice, has left an enduring mark on the world. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen in Rome.
To security matters, there are reports that suspected Boko Haram terrorists have killed 14 farmers and 2 civilian joint task force members at different locations within Goza local government area of Borno State. Now, the civilian joint task force members were reportedly killed in an ambush at Sabangari near Kirawa while returning from routine patrol in their vehicle on Friday. According to sources in Goza, the terrorists laid an ambush for the volunteers and opened fire on them, killing 2, while the driver escaped with injuries. Meanwhile, the farmers were killed while on their way to the farm on Saturday. According to the Emir of Goza, Muhammad Idris Timta, the farmers went beyond the area approved for locals to farm, and unfortunately, the terrorists were there. He said the farmers were not having any security backup as required. The attack happened in a community directly under the Mandara Mountains between Pulka and Goshi. Nigerian police have rescued 10 kidnapped victims following a gun battle with bandits along the Funtua-Gusau highway in Katsina State. The victims, 2 drivers and 8 passengers, were freed unhurt after officers from the Faskari Division engaged the kidnappers on April 19, forcing them to flee with gunshot wounds. Now, the victims have since been reunited with their families. In a separate operation, police arrested Umar Ahmad, a 40-year-old notorious criminal wanted for months during a roadblock in Jalingo, Taraba State. The arrest, conducted with support from local vigilantes, led to the recovery of 2 AK-47 rifles, one confirmed as stolen from the police. Investigations into both cases are ongoing. Nigeria's NDLEA, in a sweeping anti-narcotics operation, raided a luxury hotel in Victoria Island, Lagos, seizing illicit drugs worth over 1 billion naira. Now, the 80-room Hook Hotel, also known as Caesar Hotel, was used to distribute 589 bags of Canadian loud, that's cannabis. Now, 3 suspects were arrested, with more on the run. In other operations, over 2 million opioid pills were intercepted in Kano and Jigawa, while cocaine hidden in body creams was seized en route to Saudi Arabia. 3 Ghanaian women were caught smuggling cannabis at Seme border, and more arrests followed in Edo, Lagos, and Kano. NDLEA Chairman Buba Marwa praised the agency's efforts in balancing enforcement with nationwide drug education. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has warned operators of bureau de change and other business stakeholders across the country against illegal cash smuggling. The agency emphasized the severe repercussions of non-compliance with Nigeria's financial regulations. The executive chairman of EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, gave the warning in Kano at a joint sensitization program organized by the Nigeria Customs Service, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, and the EFCC to educate participants on legal protocols for cash movement across Nigerian borders. He reiterated that individuals transporting cash exceeding $10,000 or its equivalent must declare it to the NCS, as failure to do so constitutes a criminal offense. He further said that the CBN Act, Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, and the EFCC Establishment Act provided clear guidelines on cash declarations and penalties for violations. Still on financial crimes, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has cautioned Nigerians against the excessive desire for money. The agency issued the advice in a terse post on its X handle on Sunday. This has come in amid ongoing investigation into the alleged fraud perpetrated by a digital investment platform, crypto bank exchange, also known as CBEX. CBEX had reportedly crashed on April 14, leading to the loss of billions of naira belonging to Nigerian investors. Several videos online had shown some Nigerians raising the alarm over the loss of their funds to the scheme. The EFCC had on Friday declared 8 persons wanted over their alleged involvement in the fraudulent scheme linked to the online trading platform. Now, talking politics in Nigeria, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborewori was absent when the Progressive Governors Forum met in Abuja on Saturday night. The meeting was to welcome new entrants into the ruling All Progressives Congress, but Oborewori, who recently teamed up with the party, did not attend. Oborewori, who swept to victory in 2023 under the main opposition People's Democratic Party, however, dumped the party earlier in the week, citing several factors. The governor, his predecessor, Ifeanyi Okowa, and the entire PDP in the South state said they are collapsing their structure into the leading APC, which they argue serves as a better platform for the oil-rich state. Other persons who attended the meeting include Senator Ned Nwoko, who represents Delta North, the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, a former Deputy Senate President, Ovie Omoagege, APC scribe, Felix Moka, a former governorship candidate in Delta State, Great Ogboru, and other members of the National Assembly. Meanwhile, Abia State Governor Alex Oti has dismissed reports suggesting he is planning to defect to the All Progressives Congress from the Labour Party. In a statement issued by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ferdinand Ekeoma, the governor clarified that he neither held any meeting with Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma nor discussed plans to join the APC. He explained that following the National Economic Council meeting on Thursday, 24th April, Governor Oti, alongside a few of his colleagues, had attended the birthday celebration of Governor Uzodinma's twin daughters, a purely social event unconnected to politics. Okeoma stressed that any major political move by Governor Oti must be justified and demonstrably in the overriding interest of the Abia people. The Deputy National Chairman of the Labour Party, Dr. Ayo Olorunfemi, has advised the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate to ignore all calls to dump the party ahead of the 2027 general election. Olorunfemi, who was the LP candidate in the 2024 Ondo governorship election, told journalists on Sunday in Lagos that Obi should rather focus on rebuilding the party. Olorunfemi, who noted that though Obi was at liberty under the law to associate with any political party of his choice, said he needed to be wary of what he called dangerous advances. Noting that Obi could resolve the crisis in LP, Olorunfemi said that some aspirants shelved their ambitions in 2022 to allow Obi to use the LP platform to run for president. He, however, said that if Obi decided to dump the LP, the party would continue to exist as a strong opposition party. Thank you for staying with us. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has said that thunderstorms and hazy weather will affect many parts of the country between Sunday and Tuesday. Now, in a weather update shared on Saturday in Abuja, NIMET said there will be moderate dust haze in states like Katsina, Sokoto, Zamfara, Borno, Kano, Yobe, and Jigawa. The agency also said that Adamawa and Taraba states would likely see isolated thunderstorms during the forecast period. For the north-central region, NIMET said people should expect partly cloudy skies in the morning. In the south, morning thunderstorms are likely in Rivers, Cross River, Lagos, Bayelsa, and Akwa Ibom states, with more thunderstorms later in the day across other southern states. Now, there are reports that millions of persons with disabilities in Nigeria continue to face daily struggles, not just from their condition, but from a society that is yet to fully include them. From a lack of sufficient home to cater to their needs to limited job opportunities, many persons with disabilities are left behind despite their talents, skills, and dreams. Now, according to CODISA, a non-governmental organization, the number of homes taking care of PWDs in the country is not commensurate with their population and the amount of support needed for persons with special needs. The call is for all Nigerians to be intentional with the needs of the PWDs. Their demand is simple: inclusion, not isolation. A ramp instead of a step. A chance instead of a maybe later. As Nigerians, our strength is in our unity, and that includes everyone. So they're saying, let us speak up, show up, and support persons with disabilities, because when we lift one, we lift all. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Olaoluwa Awojodu. Olaoluwa is an advocate for the well-being of persons with disability and the leader of CODISA Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Olaoluwa. Now, please, can you go ahead and explain the inclusion of persons with what the inclusion of persons with disabilities truly means for our society?
Yes. When we are talking about inclusion of persons with disabilities, I like to think about it as elimination of barrier, which is elimination of barriers to education, elimination of barriers to employment, and even barriers to social gatherings and social events, access to public spaces, access to private work environments, so those are the things that we need to work on to be able to fully include people with disabilities.
Okay. Now, what are some of the major challenges faced by people with disabilities in Nigeria that are often overlooked by the general public?
So there are a lot of them, but I'll try and start from the big ones. One of the biggest one is just being able to be independent. Something that people have to be aware of is that nobody really wants to be a liability. Nobody wants to get to an office and they have to carry you or carry your wheelchair for you to be able to get in. So because of that, first of all, we need to figure out how can we get people with disabilities employed in our workforce? What can the government do to help us so that a lot of these people can start earning and, earn a living for themselves without depending on others. There's also access to education, which a lot that's been worked on already. And thank Lagos State government, most of the schools, the public schools, primary, secondary, are already inclusive. So you have joint classes for the special kids as well. There's also access to public spaces. Take, for example, today in Nigeria, only one bank, I think, has access to wheelchair for somebody on a wheelchair to be able to get in. Every other person, you can't go to a bank or you have to go through a back door. That is not right. You have workplaces that have no ramps, no elevators, things like that, we need to work on to be able to get them fully included into the society. Even talk about living areas. You have, let's say you're even employed, you have a disability, you're employed, you want to get your own housing, you can't even get a decent house, that would allow you to properly get in, and use the place as somebody with a disability. So there's so much that we need to do to be able to get people with disabilities fully included into our society.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, Olaoluwa, what steps should both the government and private sector take in order to improve the lives of persons with disabilities?
Okay. So on the government part, the laws, especially in Lagos State, are already there. They exist. Lagos State has very robust laws on disabilities. Where we fall short is enforcement. So a bit more work has to be done on enforcement. Also, it would be encouraged if we could have some form of quota system that encourages even private organizations, because the government can't employ everyone, so even private companies should have a quota of employment for people with disabilities. That would really go a long way. And then more importantly is for us as individuals to be socially conscious, to know that, this person with a disability is really just one of us, and make sure that as we are creating our work environments, we are actually considering them as well and making sure that those places are accessible to them. So that would really, really go a long way.
Okay, so what about your organization and your team? What are you doing with the government in order to make lives better for people with disabilities?
Oh, so in terms of government, it's mostly around engagement. So we do a lot of engagements, conversations, trying to see how we can move things forward. But outside of the government, as an organization, we do a lot on empowerment of people with disabilities, empowerment of the institutions of people with disabilities, trainings, advocacy. So we try and do all that just to make sure that we are at least doing our part, because there's so much to do. So we're trying to do our own part, and then hopefully we get enough partners, including private bodies and the government, to be able to eventually fill that gap.
Okay. Now, we often hear about disability rights. What are some specific rights that are frequently denied to people with disabilities, and how can these be addressed?
All right. So take, for instance, access to public places, very big one. In Nigeria, we tend to take that for granted, but this is something that someone with disability should be able to have rights to. We can also talk about, access to good living places. I mentioned that earlier. The gap is so huge. Like, you're going to need to have some form of living assistance, which is really unfair because nobody really wants to be a liability. But you find yourself in a situation where the environment does not, accommodate you appropriately. Another good example would even be education or even employment. So I have a friend who has a kid abroad. The child has cerebral palsy, and the child is being employed by the school to collect meal tickets daily. So when the kids come for lunch, they pay with meal tickets. So this child with cerebral palsy collects that, just very simple tasks, and then gets paid for that. And this is just a child in school, meaning that the school, the government, the institutions are already thinking about how to employ this, this child, or even as they grow older, to be able to do certain functions, like collecting meal tickets. It's not that complicated. But in Nigeria, we don't even have any of such opportunities, so people with disabilities are completely cut out from the system. They have to struggle and fight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Now, what role do Nigerian families and communities play in fostering inclusion for persons with disabilities?
All right. So for the family, I think the very first thing for a lot of families is that you need to understand that there are certain things that you do in life that you are guilty of. Maybe you did something bad, even raised your child, in a bad way. But if you have a child that is special, a child with disabilities, it is not your fault. It is not something to be ashamed of. You have no excuse to start hiding that child. That child is a child of God, should be loved by you, should be loved by his or her friends. So it's not a stigma. We need to get rid of the stigma. You need to let the child play with his or her peers, let the child go to school, let him or her get an education, and when you start doing that, you realize that even in the schools, right, the child will start having friends, will stop feeling excluded, will know what I can do, what I cannot do. And then gradually, once we get rid of the stigma as a society, then a lot of things can happen from there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alaolua, for your time and for speaking to us on this.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Lagos housing. Stay with us. A group of concerned Lagos residents under the banner of Tenant Watch Lagos have staged a protest to express their grievances over the soaring cost of house rents and the unchecked activities of uncertified real estate agents, commonly referred to as agents. Now, the demonstrators marched from Ikeja to the Lagos State House of Assembly to formally present their demands. They called on Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the Lagos State House of Assembly to urgently intervene by regulating house rents and curbing the operations of illegal and unlicensed real estate practitioners across the state.
Lagos State House of Assembly for the House of Assembly and even to the governor's office that they should just help us arrange this thing very well, because the rate that all these agents are increasing all this house rent, house agreement and commission is getting out of hand. When house is 800,000, agreement and commission must be 40, which is 80,000.
The commission agreement of 18 had several experiences, to talk about it. It's alarming, it's killing people. Everything is not about government, and individual thing now, the way I see it. So it actually happened to me too. I wanted to get an apartment at Jojo Elegba, the apartment 2-bedroom flat with 3 toilets, quite nice. It's going for ₦1 million. Then the agent in charge told me agreement and commission damages ₦1 million. Total package of ₦2 million. That's killing. That is not it at all.
When you come to my estate, in our estate, that's where I live. So our own ESCO member invite agents for our estate. They have meeting with them, collaborate with them, calling house owners to increase their rent. Like my own house from ₦2 million to ₦3 million right now. From 2M to ₦3 million.
There's difference between agents and the rector. You understand? It's this agent that we don't want. I know director is an occupation, you are trained for it, and you are certified, and you have your office. But funny enough, most of these guys, now them be director, but now they go they employ agents, make them they help them, they do nonsense. So it's the agents we don't want. We don't want agents.
A major rescue operation has brought 231 Nigerians back home after they were trafficked to Ghana and forced into cybercrime. Now, while most are victims, some have been identified as suspects linked to the criminal network. News Central's Oluwakemi Alimi reports.
A quiet return, but a powerful story of survival. 231 Nigerians have arrived in Lagos after being rescued from a cybercrime trafficking ring in Ghana. The rescue was a joint operation involving Ghana's Economic and Organized Crime Office, Nigeria's National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission.
On the 28th March, we received a complaint from an informant alleging that a group of people suspected to be Nigerians have brought in victims to their apartments, and that they are using them to engage in prohibited cyber activities. So they called on the office to assist in their arrest and then prosecution.
According to NAPTIP, 204 of the returnees have been confirmed as victims, young men trafficked under false pretenses and coerced into cyber scams. 27 others are suspected of playing roles in coordinating the criminal activities. The victims will receive medical treatment, counseling and reintegration support, while the suspects will be handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for further investigation and prosecution.
Ensure that most of them that are sick, they are treated after profiling them, and provide drugs for them. If it is fever, headache, or any form of sickness, we attend to them. These victims were being trafficked, and they were used for internet fraud, as per the letter we got from the Ghanaian government.
It's something that ECOWAS has to take very seriously. Because of this free movement of persons, people take things for granted. So it's really something that has to be taken up more seriously by the whole of the ECOWAS community.
It was an emotional moment as some of the victims shared their harrowing experiences.
Yes, Percy took me to Ghana last year, June. That is where I entered Ghana. I want to go to school and graduate from university.
I needed the capital to start my own shop. So that was when I met one guy that went there. So he told me that there was work there, but he never told me the actual work they were doing there. So when we got there, the work they were doing there, I discovered that they were just operating computers. Then I started to ask questions. Then they told me that if I don't actually want to do the work, I should pay my transport back home. My eyes, because of steady looking on the system, I can't see where right now.
For now, the rescued individuals remain in the care of NAPTIP, undergoing rehabilitation. Authorities are warning Nigerians to remain cautious of overseas job offers that seem too good to be true. A stark reminder of the dangers of human trafficking and the urgent need for greater awareness and vigilance. In Lagos, for News Central, Oluwakemi Alimi.
The industrial sector in Borno State is in dire need of resuscitation. Now, with many industries facing closure due to lack of investment and infrastructure support, experts are calling on the Nigerian government to make strategic investments in reviving these industries. News Central's Umar Ahmad assesses the state of the industries.
Borno is a Nigerian state sharing land border with 3 different countries of Cameroon, Chad and Niger republics. The popular Borno semolina flour used to be the best across Nigeria and a favorite for many families. The Borno flour mills and industry producing the product still exist, but the semolina flour is nowhere to be found in market.
Fulawan da suke abin samobitan da suke kawo wallahi duk Najeriya ba irin shi. To amma yanzu wani abu ne wanda ba za ka iya maka ce kaman babu ne da akwai. To wannan lamari ba za ka ce ga mai laifi ga wancan mai laifi ba amma menene dukkani za a taru a gyara abin yayi mai kyau.
For now it is just like a mirage. There are no functional or an industry performing optimally now in Borno if you compare it to its former state.
Property of Aliyu Zarma, this rubber bowl produced by the Borno plastic industry is 30 years old and still counting, showcasing the quality of the product.
Gaskiya kamar ce ma 30 years back. Kaga Populous wannan yana aiki, Fulamis yana aiki, Natal Shoe Factory yana aiki. Wayannan ukun dika ma zan iya gaya ma cewa na ina amfani da abubuwan su.
In terms of infrastructural development, the governor has done more than enough. But we need to please would like to please call on them to please rejuvenate some of these industries for the benefit of young people in the state. The previous administration has established about 8 or 7 industries in the states within Maiduguri metropolis. But believe me, none of them is working today.
Available data show that Borno Wire Industries, Borno Fertilizer Company Limited are dormant, while Maiduguri Flour Mills Limited performing skeletal operations, among others like Boplas and Nital Shoes Nigeria Limited, which are said to have been leased to private investors.
What the government need to have done now is like to go out and they look for investors, get confidence from these investors. I've been telling people that we have lost the opportunity of engaging the United Nations. When this insurgency is going and a lot of money is being injected, the United Nations could have select some industries and then make them activate it, and then this insurgency, it will address themselves. We all agree that one of the factors about this insurgency is the issue of bad governance, issue of poverty, unaddressed grievances, and so on and so forth.
With international aid gradually fading away, urgent action is needed to save these industries and stimulate economic growth in Borno State.
Kurena landala koksanare amde kuraso karawi kango dirnum kleyer wayare kaw gashwar gana gaida mu gana daranye arin yare ba ma banki arin gawar gamborungala ar furi ar fudusku mu gana ne samma kolja karawi kangwa kaltanna sammana ar maratodi.
The government should come, part of the policy should include the capacity upgrade of this private sector, and by giving them soft loans for them to come back to business. These loans must also be recovered via the feedback and evaluation mechanism. As I said, government cannot do everything, but government can create the enabling environment for those who are interested to come and invest. By the time you do this, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, you can see how Borno will change. People will come, foreign direct investment will definitely come.
Borno can still unlock its industrial potential, create more employment opportunities, and pave the way for sustainable economic development as the state recovers from the years of protracted conflict. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umar Ahmad.
Away from Nigeria, in Algeria, a deadly landslide has claimed 4 lives and injured 13 others in the western coastal city of Oran. Now, the disaster struck late Saturday in the High Esanuba district, collapsing 5 tin houses. According to the Civil Defense Agency, the victims ranged in age from 5 to 43, while the injured, aged between 12 and 75, are being treated for various wounds. Authorities have confirmed that no one is missing, making the current death toll final. The Interior Ministry has not disclosed the cause of the landslide. Now, the incident highlights the vulnerability of informal housing in disaster-prone areas. Emergency services responded swiftly, and an investigation is now underway to determine what triggered the collapse. In other news from around the world, South Korea's opposition Democratic Party on Sunday named former leader Lee Jae-myung as its presidential candidate for the June 3 snap election following the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. Lee won the nomination with nearly 90% support. Yoon was ousted after attempting to impose martial law last December, a move quickly overturned by lawmakers. Lee, who narrowly lost to Yoon in 2022, now leads the polls with 38% support. He vowed to reclaim power and restore democracy. Now, the Conservative People Power Party will select its candidate next Saturday. Despite ongoing corruption trials, Lee remains eligible to run with immunity granted if elected. The election marks a critical moment in South Korea's democratic history. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian visited the site of a massive explosion at Shahid Raji port near the Strait of Hormuz that killed at least 28 people and injured over 1,000. Fire continued to blaze more than 24 hours after the Saturday blast, prompting authorities to shut down schools and offices in nearby Bandar Abbas. Residents have been urged to stay indoors due to thick smoke and air pollution as firefighters continue to contain the blaze. Pezeshkian pledged government support for victims and ordered a full investigation. While a source linked the blast to missile fuel chemicals, Iran's defense ministry has denied any military link. Meanwhile, Russia is sending firefighting aircraft to assist. In the world of sports, Liverpool secured their 20th top-flight English League title with a commanding 5-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspur at Anfield. And its Slot's side, now on 82 points, have pulled clear of Arsenal and Manchester City, sealing the title with 4 games remaining. It marks Slot's first trophy since succeeding Jurgen Klopp, under whom Liverpool ended a 30-year wait for a Premier League crown in 2020. Now, the Reds matched Manchester United's record of 20 English titles and extended their tally to 70 major honours overall. Mohamed Salah has been pivotal, delivering 28 goals and 18 assists this season. His outstanding form strengthens his case for Player of the Season and Ballon d'Or recognition as Liverpool celebrates another era of dominance. Nigeria Premier Football League side Remo Stars are on the verge of clinching their first ever title with a home victory over Niger Tornadoes in Ikenne. Daniel Ogumodede's side, runners-up in the last 2 seasons, will secure an unassailable 68 points with 3 matches to spare if they win the Matchday 35 encounter. Now, their closest challengers, Rivers United, lost 2-0 to Kano Pillars on Friday, making it harder for them to catch up. A title win would make Remo Stars the first Southwest club to claim the NPFL since Julius Berger in 2000 and the first privately owned club to do so in 20 years following defunct Udoji United's success. Real Madrid defender Antonio Rudiger has apologized for being sent off during the Copa del Rey final defeat to Barcelona for throwing an object at referee Ricardo de Burgos. Now, Rudiger, along with teammate Lucas Vazquez, revealed a straight red card following a heated reaction to a late foul on Kylian Mbappe. Jude Bellingham was also dismissed for dissent shortly after. The referee's report stated that Rudiger threw an ice cube that missed him. The Germany defender issued an apology via Instagram, expressing regret for his actions. He faces a possible suspension ranging from 4 matches to a year, depending on how the Spanish Football Federation classifies the offense. Still talking sports, Ethiopia's Tigst Assefa surged to victory in a world record for the women's only field in the London Marathon, while Kenya's Sebastian Sawe triumphed in the men's race. Olympic silver medalist Assefa burst clear of 2021 winner Jocelyn Jepkowski of Kenya with 10 kilometers to go before crossing the line in 2 hours, 15 minutes and 50 seconds. Assefa beat the previous record set by Perez Jepchichi of Kenya in London last year by 26 seconds. Jepkowski finished second, nearly 3 minutes behind, with 2023 winner and Olympic champion Sifan Hassan of the Netherlands in third. In the men's race, debutant Sebastian Sawe kicked on with a little over 10 kilometers remaining, and his rivals were unable to respond, with the Kenyan finishing in 2 hours, 2 minutes and 27 seconds. Now, half marathon world record holder Jacob Kiplimo of Uganda was over a minute down in second on his full marathon debut, and 2024 winner Alexander Mutiso Munyao came third. That's all at this hour, but before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that all eyes turn to conclave as Pope Francis' tomb opens to public. We also told you that insecurity in Borno, Boko Haram allegedly kills 14 farmers, 2 civilian JTF in separate attacks. Finally, you heard that deadly landslide claimed lives, with many hospitalized in Algeria's western coastal city of Oran. Remember, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.